Futa helped put together a couple Stanley Cup champions in LA, so easy one right off the bat as we look back at Toronto and Montreal. How would you fix this Toronto team? What would you do to get them over this hump that's been in their way forever?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I mean, that's a really tough question because I really thought that Kyle had addressed some of the boxes from the past. I mean, the biggest thing is you learn from your mistakes and you don't want to make these same mistakes. So he added some grit. I mean, obviously losing Foligno to an injury and not being able to play up and losing Tavares, but they just seem so lethargic and disinterested. And whenever your top players don't look engaged and intense when you're playing for a Stanley Cup, and especially knowing the ghosts of the past, having a chance to exercise those demons and to come up with the efforts and the lack of efforts that they had, there's a lot of work to be done.
If players don't look engaged, your top players don't look engaged, does that fall on the players or does that fall on coaches and management?
Well, if they're not, then you need a coach that engages them. It should be on the player. I mean, when you're making 10 schmil, you should be able to get your body ready to play, and you shouldn't need a rocket shoved up your butt to come out to play. But this team clearly, even their body language in scrums, I didn't like. Now there were times we joked about the look on Matthews' face in a couple of those scrums, and they were winning at the time. But now you go back and you're like, if you're first and if you're bound and determined, just the general body language just lagged. And again, it didn't seem there was much respect for the Canadiens. I know even as a media, we weren't giving them much respect, but it was because the Leafs purely had a better team on paper. But paper's, I guess, what it's worth. If you're not willing to pay the price, that's the result you get.
So true. Let's look ahead to Winnipeg, Montreal. So, you're one of our bright hockey analysts, but let's be honest, it's really Price versus Hellebuyck, isn't it? I mean, we can break this series down all we want, but isn't it really Price versus Hellebuyck?
Well, I mean, against Monday, we already had the Leafs going to the south of the border, and it was going to be, how are they going to get past Price or Hellebuyck? So now I guess it's right up and straight. It's Price versus Hellebuyck. I love the fact that these are two teams that we haven't given much respect to either, by the way. They both struggled mightily into the gate, to finish the season. But Paul Maurice, if it comes down to special teams and having your team motivated, and this again, it's no knock on Dominic Ducharme. Paul Maurice is a master, and he's been in so many playoff games. And there's